Have you ever really thought about it? How deep does our real strength, our true potential actually go? Do we truly know what we're capable of, or have we just boxed ourselves in with limits we put there ourselves? This is the story of one person, a child, who started life at absolute rock bottom. He grew up in a New York neighborhood that from the outside looked picture perfect. Big houses, nice cars. But behind the walls of his home, it was a different world. There was violence, fear. Every night, the child and his mother were beaten by his father. The bruises and welts were so bad they wouldn't fade for weeks. Sometimes they couldn't even go to school, just so no one would see the marks. From a young age, he felt worthless. He struggled in school, his confidence was crushed, and he had a stutter that slipped out every time he spoke. People called him names, mocked him. Everyone around him, society, neighbors, classmates, saw him as a loser. He believed it too. He thought he was just another statistic, one of millions whose life would be nothing but pain and struggle. He was overweight, lifeless, moving through the world like he didn't matter at all. But sometimes life throws you a curveball. One night, after coming home from his overnight job as a pest control worker, he turned on the TV. There it was, a show about Navy SEAL training, the toughest training in the world. He sat and watched these people, drenched in sweat and covered in mud, yet still smiling through the pain. Seeing them, he felt something spark inside him. Maybe this was the answer he'd been searching for all along. Those men and women represented everything he wasn't: self-respect, pride, discipline, mental toughness.
He made a decision. He would become a Navy SEAL. But it wasn't easy. He weighed 300 pounds then. When he called the recruiter, they just laughed. But there was one person, a Navy recruiter, who saw the fire in his eyes. He said, "You'll need to be at least 185 pounds. That night, he was shattered inside. Lying in bed, all his failures, all his fears overwhelmed him. That's when he grabbed his old Rocky movie VHS tape. That film where an underdog boxer makes the impossible possible. He watched Rocky and told himself, "This fight isn't over yet." He threw out that milkshake, laced up his shoes, and went for a run. He only ran 400 meters. His heart pounded. His legs trembled. He fell. But this time, he didn't give up. He got back up, ran again. 1 mile, 2 miles, and slowly, the pain began to subside. This was the first time he truly understood that physical and mental limits are often just deceptions of our own minds. And that's where his greatest battle began. The accountability mirror and calloused mind. He started a new ritual, an accountability mirror. Every morning, as he shaved, he'd look at himself in the mirror, and he'd speak the truth to himself, the truth he needed to hear. "You're dumb. You can't read. You're fat. You're a loser. You have to work, or you'll keep living like an insect." He wrote all his insecurities, his dreams, his goals on sticky notes and plastered them on the mirror. Every single day, he'd look at these notes, holding himself accountable. This was brutal honesty, without any pretense. Because if we want to change ourselves, first we have to accept the truth.
Slowly, he began pushing himself into uncomfortable situations. He ran, he swam, increasing his workout every day. If he missed even 1 rep or didn't lose weight, he'd go back to the gym that night, punishing himself until the work was done. This wasn't just physical training, it was the process of toughening his mind. Just as repeated work creates calluses on your hands, repeatedly pushing through pain and discomfort calluses our mind too, making it stronger. To qualify for the Navy SEALs, he had to pass the ASVAB test. His reading level was that of a fourth grader, but he didn't give up. He'd sit for hours at the kitchen table, studying. He'd write out each page 3 times to memorize it. He forced himself, and in 6 months, he brought his reading level up to that of a high school senior. He passed the ASVAB test, and he was selected for Navy SEAL training. Hell Week and the 40% rule. But this was just the beginning. The real challenges were yet to come. Navy SEAL training, known as Hell Week. It's a week of training where participants are physically and mentally tortured to the point of breaking to make them quit. Barely any sleep, hours in freezing water, carrying logs, and instructors constantly provoke them to give up.
During his first Hell Week, he got pneumonia. In his second Hell Week, his leg was so injured it swelled up like a balloon. Doctors advised him to drop out, but he didn't give up. He continued training despite the pain in his knees. He knew he wasn't running from his past anymore. He had broken free from it. The pain was still there, but now, even in pain, he started to enjoy it. Because now his life had a purpose. He learned another powerful concept, what he calls the 40% rule. Most of us, when we feel like we've given our absolute all, have actually only used about 40% of our capacity. Our mind acts like a governor to keep us comfortable. It protects us from pain, fear, and discomfort. But if we recognize that 40% limit and push just a little further, just 5 to 10% more, we can unlock our true 60% potential. He used this in every challenge, whether it was tying knots underwater in Hell Week or swimming alone in an open ocean with a boat. He felt fear. His mind panicked, but he yelled, "Boat crew 2!" He broke his limits. He calloused his mind. Whenever he felt like he couldn't go on, he'd remember his accountability mirror and that 40% rule. Ultra running and the cookie jar. And then came the journey of ultra running. A man who couldn't even run a single mile properly. He was now running 100-mile races, 135-mile races, 205-mile races. The Hong Kong Hurt 100, where there were jungles, rain, slippery trails. He didn't know how to ultra run. He didn't have proper shoes. His hydration pack broke, but he kept going. People laughed at him for choosing such a difficult first trail race, but he didn't stop.
Many times, his feet were so badly injured they'd fracture. He even started bleeding from his rectum, but he just taped up his feet and kept running through the pain. He used what he called the cookie jar concept. He'd think back to his past small victories, every tough moment he'd survived, understanding a paragraph when he struggled to read, losing 5 pounds, getting through Hell Week. These were all his cookies that gave him strength. When the pain got too intense, he'd reach into his cookie jar and grab a cookie. The pain didn't magically disappear, but it came in waves instead of all at once, because his mind was now focused on those cookies. Taking souls and pushing past physical limits. He also learned what it means to take souls, not to beat someone else down, but to show through your own excellence just how unstoppable you really are. If your coach isn't giving you playing time, then you work so hard in practice that they can't ignore you. If your boss underestimates you, then you outperform their expectations every time. It's not just about impressing others. It's about waking up the power inside you. It's a mental battle with yourself. Then life hit him with another huge setback. Doctors told him he had a hole in his heart, something he'd been born with. He'd been running ultra races and made it through Navy SEAL training with only about 50% oxygen. The doctors called it a miracle. He called it proof of how powerful the mind really is. He ended up needing 2 heart surgeries, but he turned that challenge into an opportunity. He started stretching for hours every day, working to rebuild his body and come back stronger than ever.
Continuous challenge and time optimization. He never became complacent. Whether it was participating in the toughest training in the Navy SEALs or graduating from Army Ranger School, he always strived to be uncommon amongst uncommon. Whenever he felt he had hit a plateau, he'd seek out a new challenge. He never stopped. His fridge was never completely full, always pushing further, always a new challenge. He also learned to optimize his time, a 24/7 mission, treating every day like a military mission. No wasting time unnecessarily. Pointless social media scrolling or useless discussions, all of that is a waste of time. Using every single moment productively. Waking up early, working out for hours. In the evening, returning home, getting back to work. Setting up backstops for himself so that no task goes beyond its allocated time. Embracing failure and the what-if question. And when he failed, he wasn't afraid. He'd embrace his failure. Every failure he'd view as an after-action report, an AAR. He'd honestly write down his mistakes, what went well, what went wrong, what his mindset was like. And then, learning from that very failure, he'd create a new strategy and try again. Just like he did for the pull-up record. He failed twice. His hands bled, but the third time, he broke the record with 4,030 pull-ups.
He learned that others' opinions or their doubts cannot stop you. It's often our closest people who want to keep us safe. But if we truly want to achieve greatness, we have to break our own limits. The most powerful question he asks himself whenever doubt creeps in is, what if? What if I can do it? What if I can take all my negative memories, all my pain, and turn them into fuel, using them to achieve my biggest dreams? Today, at 43 years old, he's fitter than ever. He's learned how to master his body and mind. Struggle, pain, and passion, these are all with him. He always sets seemingly impossible goals. And when people say it's not possible, he looks them in the eye and asks one question.
What if? Think about it. In your life, what is it that you consider impossible? Are you ready to embrace the pain that will take you beyond that impossible? Are you ready to remove that governor in your mind that's holding you back at just 40%? Are you ready to stand before your accountability mirror and be truly honest with yourself? This journey never ends. Growth will always continue because the real race is with yourself, to push your capabilities to the absolute limit, never settling, and transforming every setback with a new strategy and a new mindset into the next step. That is true victory. Becoming the toughest person in your own eyes, whether the world notices you or not. So now, ask yourself, what if?